10-minute tales. Barney Barron, welcome Barney.
Thank you, good afternoon. Thank you for coming out to hear me, and for those that just come out for a quiet cup of coffee, sorry to disturb it, but good to be able to share some of my story and some of the story of what I've written in the book, Jesus and Justice. I'm from an organisation called Urban Expression, so of course I'm here to talk about the coast. So I spent 16 years with Urban Expression, church planting and living incarnationally in a large housing estate near Portsmouth, an estate of 30,000 people, and an area of sort of high economic deprivation, but a beautiful community and one that we loved and brought up our family in. But us, Urban Expression asked me to do, however many years ago, asked me to do some research into coastal communities. Now, I don't know what when you think of the coast, don't know what you think about. Particularly somewhere like Cornwall, maybe, sun and ice cream and clear blue seas. Maybe that's your impression. Certainly that was my impression going into doing some coastal research along the south coast. I wonder if, I've kind of given a bit of a clue in the beginning, but I wonder if anybody knows where the most economically deprived community is in the UK. Hastings, not far. Jaywick, yes, exactly. Jaywick is a coastal village in Essex, thank you, where we do have an Urban Expression team now, but it is the most economically deprived community in the UK. The most economically deprived region in England, second most in Northern Europe, is Cornwall. Second only to a coastal community in Wales, a coastal region in Wales. So, when we think, certainly when I thought of kind of social issues, justice issues, economic issues, I think about the inner cities. I think about the outlying estates, but actually there's a real crisis in many of our coastal communities, often hidden. So I guess that research, long story short, led me and my family, or part of my family, we left home. Josiah there, yeah. We took him with us. He decided we couldn't leave him at 13. But we moved to Loo in Cornwall. Look at the stats of Loo, and it doesn't look like the most deprived place in Cornwall, or in the UK, certainly in Cornwall. But we've recently, my wife and Sarah and I have recently been interviewed by the sort of Cornwall Health because they're recognising that there is much hidden poverty in places like Loo, and so they looked at Loo and the Isles of Scilly in particular, and it's the old adage, if you had a village that was kind of economically low, and then a small village, and then forgotten their names now, Elon Musk, and a couple of other wealthy, Jeff Bezos, if they moved into the village, suddenly actually it looks like a very affluent village, but the poor still remain poor. And I think that is the case in places like Loo, and many other, I'm talking out of my experience of Loo and Cornwall in particular, but as we've looked around the UK and sort of begun to explore a project called Coastal Expression within the sort of family of Urban Expression, we're just finding this is a repeated thing across the UK. There are some very nice and very they're all nice, but very affluent coastal communities. But there is, like Lou, some real economic divides. And And you know, particularly what we're finding is homelessness is a massive issue. And I write a story about a lady, a family that are struggling in terms of homelessness. But it's a massive issue that we're dealing with all the time through our charity in Lou. And there's a lot of hidden homelessness. So there is street homelessness, but actually a lot of sofa surfing, a lot of people living in the back of vans. You know, we've all been camping this weekend. That's great for a weekend, it's good fun. But when it's your life, and when you have to live through winters with driving rain, it isn't quite so fun. So massive homelessness issues, and it's not even that there isn't the housing stock in Cornwall. It's that much of that housing stock is being brought up for holiday homes. We had our neighbours, lovely young family living next to us, who we got on really well with, and then, you know, kind of one day during COVID, I kind of bumped into him and said, you know, are you moving out? And he said, yeah, well, we're being kicked out by the landlord because he can make more money selling it. So he sold it, and there was one couple looking at it to buy it as a holiday home, and I got chatting to them, and I said, so are you going to rent it out as an Airbnb? And they said, no, we'll be down here a couple of weeks a year and a few weekends. A family made homeless for a couple of weeks and a few weekends. It's a real challenge for Cornwall and a lot of coastal areas, because a lot of the traditional industries, fishing, is you know, I'm told in living memory there used to be like 50 odd boats go out from Lou. There's now a handful, 5 or 6 boats going out from Lou. So the fishing industry has been trashed. The mining industry is no longer, although they are looking at the new gold. There's lithium apparently in Cornwall, but of course all the mines have been sold off to foreign investors. So very little of that money will be seen in Cornwall if it is mined. But mining, fishing, farming is in decline. So all of these traditional industries. So the kind of thing is, we are reliant on tourism, and like lots of coastal communities. But what that means is a summer economy, which is low wage, 0-hour contracts, and a winter benefits system, a winter benefits culture rather. You know, it's interesting. My son here works in hospitality in the summers in Cornwall. And you'll have lots of people say, oh, you know, wouldn't it be great? It must be great to live here all year round. And those kind of give a smile and you know, but the reality is local people are working all the hours through the nice weather. And then the winter, although not cold, it's just driving rain and dark. And it's funny, I know a couple of people, a local regional minister, and a guy from rural ministries have both said to me, I have lots of phone calls in August from ministers who feel called to Cornwall. He said then they ring back in November and they've changed their mind. So you know, this is kind of the reality. And just another funny story, or true story. A friend of mine moved from Cornwall to Dunbar in Scotland, and I said to him, why have you moved to Dunbar? He said, because I couldn't cope with the Cornish winters. So, but also, you know, what those, that we've got a lack of infrastructure, you know, issues around education, issues around health, issues around, you know, employment, issues around unsuitable housing, issues around getting dentists and doctors, all of these things. And then they inevitably lead to we've got the highest rate in Cornwall of suicide in the country. There's lots of drug and alcohol abuse, and my son and my other kids have said to me, you know, the availability of drugs is much more readily available in Lou than it was on the estate near Portsmouth. It's just part of the culture and how people, I guess, self-medicate. I've run out of time. But thank you. I'm going to be sat here with some of my colleagues from Urban Expression. If you'd like to know more about urban expression or coastal expression, if you'd like to be a pioneer in one of these communities, come talk to us. Thank you.
Fantastic. Give it up for Barney Barron from Urban Expression.